Well, whatever happens, Tariq, I'll always answer my phone for you.
I know. Yo, I heard from you in a minute. Yeah, I do. What's going on, though? You come on, we family for life. Send me the details, and I'll be there. I'm on my way.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has finally been confirmed. They say power never ends. They've been teasing that for a while, and I genuinely think they mean it. They've got countless of stories to tell from the world of power. And this news that was just released, honestly speaking, it shouldn't actually be a surprise. I, for one, wasn't surprised. A new Tariq and Tommy show has been a hot topic of discussion, debate, theory, prediction. Call it what you want. It's something that we've been speaking about for well over a year. And in fact, we actually spoke about it just in my last breakdown. It just made the most logical sense. Since they announced the cancellation of Ghost last March, announcing the final season for Book 4 Force, and then you add in the phone call that Tariq received at the end of Ghost Season 4 in the after-end credit scene, the stars were just kind of aligning for Tariq and Tommy to come together for one last dance. And I will get to the one last dance a bit later on in this breakdown, and what I mean by it. Again, it is something I actually spoke about just this past week, and I do think everything falls in line for that particular prediction and theory as well. But a new show with Michael Rainey Jr. and Joseph Sikora leading the new series in the present timeline is pretty much confirmed. So in this breakdown, we are going to be running through the article in a bit more detail, taking a look at all the important talking points. We're then going to take a look at why now? Why have they released this information at this moment in time? As well as taking a look at it from a storyline perspective, why and how this crossover could potentially happen for the next up and coming present day timeline power spin-off called Power Legacy.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Joseph Sikora here back in New York City to announce to you that the rumors are true. Power Book 4 Force is dropping this fall.
Oh, and we definitely knew Tommy's journey was far from over. But this is the article that Deadline released where they dropped the announcement on the new spin-off. They mentioned there's not just one, but two Power offshoots in the works, the other Power spin-off being Power Origins, and on that front, Sasha Penn has been confirmed as a showrunner for Power Origins. And where they are with that particular spin-off, the article did mention that they are in the writer's room at this moment in time, and his pickup chances are looking pretty good. I'm sure when they get closer to actually announcing more with Power Origins, we will get a bit more details, so just gotta be kind of patient on that front. But on Tariq and Tommy, the Deadline article does also confirm Gary Lennon is going to be serving as a showrunner for Power Legacy along with Kendra Chapman. They mention that the writer's room for the project is also expected to open soon. Power Legacy is expected to follow the events of Force as Ghost concluded its run last year. Essentially, this could open up a crossover for either Tommy or Tariq to travel to either Chicago or New York, or somewhere completely new. They also mentioned and kind of teased London before. They've toyed with the idea of Power kind of going across the pond. I personally think that's highly unlikely for the time being. I mean, never say never, but I do think it'll probably be California, which I will come to in just a moment. But the Deadline article goes on to read a bit more about the Power universe expanding, how Starz plans to keep the profit margins healthy by ending series after a couple of seasons and then starting fresh, which is actually something we ironically spoke about just this past week. We spoke about how a Tommy and Tariq show makes the most sense from a storyline perspective, but we also spoke about how it makes sense from a company standpoint as well. You bring together two of the most popular characters from the world of Power, from Power Book 2 Ghost and also Power Book 4 Force, merge them into one show. You keep the audience, maintain the core of Power, while reducing costs, but still expanding the world of Power. So, from my standpoint, it's honestly no surprise that we're getting this news. The only surprise is we're getting this news now. I actually thought they may kind of wait until the end of Force, because they may not have wanted to ruin the ending of Force Season 3 with a potential Tariq crossover. But, having said that, I do think everyone's probably going to tune in even more, just waiting to potentially see Tariq pop up at the end. Did Tommy call Tariq? Is Tariq going to pop up in Chicago? Will that be setting up the next Power show? So I do guess it makes sense from that point of view where it just builds up even more anticipation for the final season of Force, a season which I said is going to be absolutely insane. So it definitely will build up a lot of hype, attention, anticipation, where all of us are just going to be looking for that moment where Tommy could potentially pick up the phone and call Tariq.
Send me the details, and I'll be there. I'm on my way.
Now, this was one of the biggest clues that Tommy and Tariq spin-off was eventually going to come, or at least Tariq crossing over into Chicago, because Joseph Sikora's announcement that Season 3 was going to be his last in Chicago, the cryptic message from Michael Rainey Jr. on social media showing he was at the Lionsgate Studios, it only had to be one person on the other end of this phone call, and if anybody had any doubts that it was Tommy Egan, I do think this article pretty much confirms it. I do think we are going to see Tariq crossing over into Chicago towards the end of Force Season 3, and that it is going to set up the next chapter for Power Legacy. Why he's crossing over at this moment in time, apart from the obvious reasons we've spoken about? From a storyline standpoint, over the past week, I went through a couple of scenarios. Tommy may have been betrayed by the CBI, and he may be left with no allies, nobody that he can trust, which in turn makes him call Tariq. He also may need help dealing with the war with Miguel Garcia and the Mexicans, or he may have actually dealt with all of those problems in Chicago, and there's a new big bad that's arrived, maybe even a common enemy. So I have spoken about the theory of Elisa Maria and the Italians, and honestly just keep that one in the back of your minds. I do have a feeling we're probably going to be talking about this one again at some point in the near future. Now another question I also have is, what city will Tariq and Tommy be heading off to? That's also another interesting question which the Deadline article did touch on. They mentioned that it could be setting up a crossover for either Tommy or Tariq to either travel to Chicago or New York City, or somewhere completely new. So that information hasn't actually been given out to the media just yet. Either they're trying to figure out the logistics or the potential storyline and the location, or Gary Lennon and the writers are being really tight-lipped. Maybe that's something they'll probably reveal towards the end of Force Season 3 and maybe Episode 9 or 10 when Tariq does cross over. We might see them being run out of Chicago, or maybe Tommy kind of offering Tariq, join me in potentially LA.
Jamie left me some money, so I don't need you no more. You can go to hell. Or California. Same thing.
I know that. Those Reyes, right?
What you know about how we bang on the West Coast?
Not much, but I fucks with that Cali herb hard.
Now I do say LA, California because that was Tommy's original destination before he made that pit stop in Chicago, which ended up being more than a pit stop. We know there's characters like Rodolfo out in LA who had ties to Jason Michich. If they wanted to go down that route, it definitely makes sense. I can't see them potentially going back to New York because Tommy's kind of been there and done that in New York. He's now been there and done that in Chicago. He's also supposed to be dead in the Big Apple. I guess if the writers really wanted to make it work, they will kind of find a workaround because at the end of the day, it is power. They're going to bend reality with a lot of storylines. So if they really wanted to have Tommy come back to New York, then I am sure they'll probably find a way. I personally think it's going to be a different city, and LA just makes the world of sense based on what they've teased before back in Power. But again, on that one, the location hasn't officially been announced. I'm sure that's something they're probably keeping a secret, and when we get closer to the end of Force Season 3, that's when we'll probably get more news. Now, whether Power Legacy has any other cast members past or present, I mean, who knows? There are actually a host of big characters still alive in the present timeline. Tasha, Brayden, Kane. There are a host of characters in Force. What happens to those particular characters? For example, D-Mac. With him being Tommy's nephew, will he join Tariq and Tommy in the next Power show? Or will they end his character arc in Force Season 3? There's his love interest in Maria. What happens with that particular storyline? There's also a lot they need to close off in Force Season 3, and it is going to be really interesting to see if anybody else does pop back up. I know there's going to be a lot of comments with 2-Bit as well. He's also someone who's been mentioned a lot over the past couple of years, and a character that I do feel was underutilized in Book 2 Ghost. I personally think they could have done a lot more with this character after they had him released in jail in Season 1. Could they also tie him into the next Power show, considering he's also alive in the world of Power? He knows both Tommy Egan and Tariq. He's worked with Tommy before. He stayed loyal while he was in jail. And even though he didn't quite fit the vibe of Chicago, maybe he fits the whole vibe and storyline for the next Power spin-off. So maybe 2-Bit is a character just to keep in mind for Power Legacy. Just some food for thought. But with this next chapter pretty much being confirmed, I do want to go back to the question or point I raised in my last breakdown and just ask the question again. Do you guys think this is going to end up being Tommy's final chapter? Kind of the last dance for Tommy Egan with him acting as a final mentor to Tariq? I personally think it will be. Gary Lennon did tease something along those lines after Force Season 2, and it is going to be interesting to see how they end Tommy's character arc if the next chapter is indeed the end. I do think we are getting closer to that moment, and for those who may not have seen my previous breakdown, I would highly recommend giving it a watch, because I do definitely go into it in a lot more detail. But that's the official announcement, my thoughts, some general predictions and theories, which I think does fall in line with the timeline of events over the past year or two, and also reading between the lines from various interviews and things that have been posted on social media. And it really is exciting times for the world of Power. It's crazy to think that we're 11 years deep into Power, but it just feels like we're getting started on a new era that will take us to maybe year 15 or 16 with these new set of shows. After that, well, they say Power never ends, so let's see what they have cooking. I'm sure the world of Power will expand even further beyond. But that's where I'm going to leave it for this one. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and let me know what you think of the new Tariq and Tommy show, and also the name Power Legacy. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.